When it comes to meta comps in Overwatch, I feel obligated to talk about that subject with a lot of elephants in the room. You see, meta play does not affect every player equally. The general rule of thumb is that the lower your rank, the less you have to care about what is or isn't meta. More often than not, most of the meta trends we're about to cover did not actually affect players in most ranks outside of Masters and Grandmaster, with the notable exception of single heroes being grossly overpowered. Naturally, one hero being OP can easily affect your matches even in low elo, whereas having to convince your team to run a specific composition while trying to explain how to play it is more difficult. That's why the loudest voices talking about meta comps are usually Grandmasters. Since they are the best players Outlier has to offer, they are the ones who have to deal with it the most. Regardless, while researching this video, I figured that it is really difficult to get people to agree on what actually was and wasn't meta for the reasons I just described. But also, when it comes to time frames, it isn't always very straightforward. So here's the compromise. I've assigned one specific meta trend to every season respectively, just for the sake of simplicity. Some of these have still been around when the next season kicked off, and they have not always been meta all throughout the season, and then they have been very map-specific mini-metas of sort. Like, it's kind of a mess. So, to not have this video be a mess as well, I decided to simplify the whole timeline. You can fight it out in the comments if you like, but honestly, I don't think it makes a huge difference. Anyway, enough explaining, let's finally get into the video. Season 1 of competitive Overwatch has not really had too much of a specific meta that you can attribute to it. Dragon Blades were king at the time, McCree could outsnipe Widowmaker while also shredding tanks, and hero stacking was still a thing, meaning that cheesy stall comps like Double Tracer, Double Winston, and Double Lucio were commonly run on control maps. The most defining characteristic of the first season was that we didn't necessarily know what was the best comp to run, simply because we were all new to the game. More than anything, when people remember Season 1, they remember the coin flip. As such, I have dubbed the first season Coin Flip Meta. Season 2 saw the rise of a brand new support hero, Ana. It took players a while to realize just how overpowered she was at the time, but once they did, she led to the creation of a number of meta trends throughout the seasons. The first of which is the Beyblade meta. You see, the whole point was to put all of your resources into Reaper's Death Blossom. It was a dangerous ultimate just on its own, but back then, Ana's nano boost did not only add damage and resistance, but also speed. So even with just the two of them, you already had a really strong combo. Coordinated teams, however, would add so much more to it. A Zarya bubble to counter the few stunts that were in the game, a speed boost from Lucio to add insult to injury, and really, it was a straight up team wipe every time. Season 3 would, again, be dominated by Ana. If you think that Goats is the first comp that takes advantage of tanks, then you'd be grossly mistaken. The first tank-heavy composition was uncreatively dubbed Triple Tank, and it was about as straightforward as you think. Nano-boosted Reinhardts were, most of the time anyway, the #1 cause of team-wipes, because it was really difficult to get away from him once he had the speed boost from Ana's ultimate, and the whole point was to allow her to charge that as quickly as possible. The best way to do that was by adding a lot of heavy HP bodies, and you could run any variety of tank comps to be honest, but one of the more common variations included Reinhardt, Zarya, and Roadhog, and Lucio for added mobility. Lots of sustain, lots of damage, and lots of reasons to hate being an Ana main who only ever gets to spam M1 on their tanks. Season 4 would mark the beginning of what I like to call Overwatch 101. A staple composition of Overwatch is the dive comp, and dive was never as powerful as it was in Season 4. You see, D.Va's defense matrix used to be even more broken than it is right now, and that's really all there is to say. Players realized that the map design on most of the maps anyway really favored high mobility heroes. Aggro dive featuring Tracer and Genji would become the norm, while Winston was used to disrupt the enemy team and D.Va just straight up ate all the damage. There was very little finesse involved in that composition at the time simply because of how overpowered D.Va was. Season 5 showed us the first steps leading into the Mercy meta. It was around this time that the devs decided it was a really good idea to play around with the most played character in the entire game, and well, the rest is history. Season 5 has still largely been dominated by dive, with a foreshadowing of the Mercy meta. Season 6, while still seeing a lot of dive, was universally known as the spam meta. Orisa has seen a buff in her magazine size, allowing her to lay down suppressing fire while also offering protection for heroes like Junkrat. And because Mercy was rising in popularity, running into damage boosted Junkrat nades was pretty much the norm. Add Zenyatta's Discord Orb and Hanzo's tree-sized arrows and bam, you have yourself a recipe for disaster. This has marked the second consecutive season in which Mercy was considered a must-pick. Season 6 was also the first competitive season to be cut from 3 down to 2 months, which is how we know them today. Season 7 again reinforced the Mercy meta while giving birth to mini-meta trends like Pirate Ship on Junkertown. There really isn't much else to say here, as long as you were running Mercy, pretty much anything goes. Season 8 has seen a return to tank-heavy compositions in the form of the Slambulance. This was a 4-2 lineup featuring Reinhardt, Zarya, D.Va, and Roadhog, and their only purpose was being sped boost onto the objective by Lucio while getting spam healed by Moira. But to say that the Slambulance has dominated Season 8 would be an overreaction. Quite frankly, a damage boosted Junkrat could suffice as a counter, and skilled Widowmakers who managed to pick off either of the supports could cripple this composition immediately. What did people run other than Slambulance? I don't know actually. Probably more Mercy to be honest. Season 9 has actually seen a lot of different compositions that countered each other, and as such I would label it as a pretty healthy season. Dive was back on the rise, but players came up with an anti-dive comp, and things like Slambulance were still reasonably viable on certain maps. Season 10 gave birth to what would henceforth be known as this Season 10. We're talking about the Graph Dragon meta. While you would be right in saying that Graph Dragon has always been a popular combo, players figured out that you can damage boost Hanzo's ultimate, and that would cause it to outdamage the most powerful support ultimate in the game, Transcendence. Yeah, that means that teams were taking turns wiping each other by using these two ultimates over and over again, until Blizzard released a patch that no longer allowed ultimates like Dragon Strike and Self-Destruct to be damage boosted, and they called it a bug. Sure Blizzard, I'm sure that was a bug and not a gross oversight. Much like Season 5 was a foreshadowing to the Mercy meta, Season 11 was doing the same thing for the crowd control meta. Sombra could now stay in stealth indefinitely and stop enemies from playing the video game on a regular. Eventually, tank players were getting fed up with the game because they spent more time being crowd controlled than not. Between Lucio boops, Doomfist juggles, and Sombra hacks, Season 11 just really was not a fun time for tanks. Season 12 was when things got really wild with a double sniper meta, and this was also the first time that I've observed a, well, not to sound too melodramatic, but kind of a mass exodus of Overwatch players. By Season 12, a lot of competitive players were getting fed up with every meta challenging the previous one for the spot of the worst meta in Overwatch history, and especially the CC meta that took player agency out of the game had put them on edge. But now, between random Hanzo kills and pocketed Widowmakers, the game stopped being fun for many players. You know, as soon as a game is off its peak, there are always people who claim that it is dying. But it was in Season 12 that I observed players not just talking about leaving, but actually being gone with no intention of wanting to come back. Well, we're getting into familiar territory now. Season 13 through 15 would all be dominated by goats in high elo and Brigitte specifically in low elo. For anyone watching this way in the future, goats is the 3 tank, 3 support composition featuring Reinhardt, Zarya, D.Va, Brigitte, Lucio, and Zenyatta, making DPS heroes pretty much obsolete. And now in Season 16, at the time of writing this video, it looks like the Bunker Meta is gonna be the next big thing that everyone is going to hate. And that concludes my video talking about the history of meta comps in Overwatch. Don't like the list? Well, make your own then. No, seriously. Humble Bundle has brought back the Vegas Pro Creative Freedom Bundle, so if you think you can make better videos than me, then hey, here's your chance to do it for a fraction of the usual cost. While Humble Bundle does not pay me to advertise their products, as a Humble partner, I do get a kickback off of purchases you make via my affiliate link down in the description below, if you want me to. The great thing here is that you can choose where your money goes, so even if you don't like my face, you can make sure that your money ends up where it makes a difference. Support charity while getting awesome products for a good price. So what are you waiting for? Kickstart your creativity with the Humble Creative Freedom Bundle by following the link in the description below. Shilling aside, I love advertising the Creative Freedom Bundle every time it comes back because quite frankly, it is the best selling product I have ever brought to the channel. I'm using Sony Vegas myself, so I figured it would be a good fit, and it's obviously a product that you guys are interested in. Every time the offer ends, I get comments from people telling me that they're disappointed they missed it. So, you know, think of it what you will, but it feels like a big win-win for everyone involved, especially because of the charity effort that is attached to it. Anyway, thank you everybody so much for watching today's video on the history of meta comps in Overwatch. I apologize for not going super in-depth about where they originated from and what inspired them and whatnot, but quite frankly, the whole point here was just to have a cohesive list of meta comps that were played throughout the seasons, so I was trying to keep it concise. If you enjoyed this video, then feel free to let me know by dropping me a like on your way out and consider subscribing if you want to see more. But until then, thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time.